AITA for separating from my husband because he refused to get a vasectomy. My husband 28 male, who I will call Jack, and I 27 female have been together for 4 years. We have 2 young children and I am pregnant again. I have been pregnant for what feels like most of our relationship. I got pregnant 4 months into our relationship. We got married a month before our daughter's first birthday and ended up with a honeymoon baby. After our son was born, I talked to my OB and she put me on birth control and I have been taking it militantly. My daughter is now 3 and my son is 2. A little over a month ago I discovered I am pregnant again, despite taking my birth control religiously. Abortion is banned in my state, and the pregnancy was discovered too far along to attempt to obtain one out of state. While Jack and I were nervous, we also love being parents and decided that 3 young kids would be a challenge, but 3 was a good number for us. Then we went in for the first ultrasound and got some unexpected news: it's twins. Things have been tough financially, and while we were stressed but excited for a 3rd child, we were not expecting a 3rd and 4th child. Beyond the finances, I am the primary caretaker and I know that twins is going to be a lot. 3 children under 5 is already a lot, but 4 children under 5 is going to be really difficult for me. Physically, I am tired of being pregnant. I've been pregnant or breastfeeding the majority of our relationship. It's exhausting, it feels awful, and I don't recognize my body anymore. 4 children is enough. I don't want more. I told Jack that I was done with pregnancy. I've been pregnant enough. I've been experimenting with different types of birth control for over a decade and I still can't stop getting pregnant. Abortion isn't a valid option where we live. We need something more permanent. He agreed and suggested an IUD. I told him no. If it did fail, then it could cause an ectopic pregnancy which could unalive me, especially where we live. I've had both control fail me multiple times already and I'm not taking the chance, so I suggested a vasectomy. He was not open to the idea and was even upset that I suggested it and told me I should get my tubes tied. I told him a tubal ligation is a much bigger surgery and I could be recovering for weeks, during which time I wouldn't be able to work or take care of our 4 young children, but he could ice his balls for a day or 2 and be done with it. He told me that not getting pregnant was ultimately my responsibility, and topped it off by saying that's what your body, your choice means. Your body, so you choose. That's when it went from a discussion to a full-blown fight. See, when I was 19 I had another birth control failure with my boyfriend at the time, who I will call Tom. I wanted an abortion. Tom did not because he was opposed. I told him I was getting the abortion since it was my body and my choice, and Tom said some horrible things to me, including threatening me. I broke up with him and got the abortion. In response, Tom ended up following me one night and attacking me. I don't want to go into detail, but it was horrible, and he ended up going to prison for a number of charges related to the attack. Not only do I have a number of scars and some long-lasting physical effects, but I have PTSD as well. Jack knows about my history and diagnosis, and has known from the beginning. I have a pretty prominent facial scar, so I was upfront about it early on in our dating. Jack always presented himself as very pro-choice, so I was shocked that he would say that. I got really emotional and started crying and shouting, and it turned into a full-blown fight. Eventually I said that birth control is a 2-way street and so far I've been the only one managing it, and he said, and now we have 2 kids and 2 more coming. Great job. I told him he sounded like Tom and he got super pissed, basically said how dare you compare me to him, and maybe he might want kids one day with someone who doesn't compare him to her felon ex-boyfriend. I was stunned and horrified. I said, well then let's not waste any effing time, then packed up myself and the kids and drove to my parents' place. It's been about a week since the fight. I've spoken with Jack a few times and he has since apologized and said he was out of line and was speaking from a place of anxiety after finding out about the twins, but also that I said things that were out of line and it was wrong of me to insist he undergo a medical procedure. He said that can move on from the things I said and that he wants to see his children and be a family again. I told him no, that I didn't want to move on from the things he said to me. I can't just get over that and I think we need space apart. Jack was upset by this, and while we talked I brought up getting a separation agreement to manage custody and finances while we figure things out. He did not like this suggestion, said we didn't need to pull the courts into this. I haven't told a lot of people about what's happening but my family and a couple close friends. My sister and best friend both think I should throw the whole man away, but my brother, who is the only other one married with kids, thinks that I'm being extreme for what sums up to a fight between 2 scared people who both said nasty things. My mom is trying to be supportive but is occasionally reminding me that I don't want to be a single mother of 4, and telling me not to let my PTSD drive my decisions, while my dad is being completely unhelpful. He thinks jokes are helpful, like calling me doorknob because I can't stop getting knocked up, telling me to let the oven cool down, real knee slappers. I don't know what to do. My kids are happy to be at grandma and grandpa's house but they miss their daddy. I'm 4 months pregnant and already uncomfortable as hell. I wish I could go back to being a happy little family, but I'm so hung up on the things he said in that fight. Am I destroying my family over one bad night? Am I being unreasonable for asking my husband to get a vasectomy? Edit, I've noticed a lot of people recommending condoms. I have gotten pregnant with condoms twice. Our second child and my first pregnancy were both conceived using condoms properly correct fit. put on correctly, single use, not expired, no breaks, etc. I do not trust condoms enough to not fail a third time. I know the failure rate is supposedly small, but it's not personally small enough for me. Edit to the edit. I'm sorry, I didn't expect so many comments so fast and I can't keep up with them. By the first pregnancy I mean the pregnancy with Tom. With Jack I was on the patch when I got pregnant with our daughter, condoms with our son, and the pill with the twins. So far I haven't ever suspected that Jack has tampered with our birth control and always presumed that I'm a fertile myrtle. I recognize the comments and just want people to know I'm seeing the suggestion. I'm not dismissing it, but the thought of it is deeply upsetting and has provoked a lot of anxiety. I just wanted to make it clear that if the suggestion is only based on the condoms, that the condom pregnancies were with 2 different partners. While I know I always used condoms properly with Tom, I do believe that Tom could have been fully capable of sabotaging the condoms. Update 1. I didn't expect so many comments and literally couldn't go through them all. It seemed like the majority of people said I was NTA, but I did get a lot of YTA telling me I was trying to force him to get a medical procedure and telling me to get one instead. Besides already addressing my reasonings why I made my request in the original post, which I want you to read with real per my last email energy, I in no way am forcing him to have a medical procedure, but I am saying that I do not want to be with a partner who is not willing to be snipped. This is an issue of compatibility. The number of children you want, the methods of birth control you're willing to use, those are issues of compatibility, and a reason relationships end all the time. If he doesn't want to be sterilized, that's fine, but then that means that we're not compatible anymore, since it means he wants more children and I don't. Beyond that, there were some YTA comments and some DMs that were just nasty, calling me a murderer and saying my body is a cemetery. Sadly enough, I expected those types of comments, because I know there are a lot of Toms out in the world. First, I wanted to address a couple things that kept coming up, because last post turned into thousands of comments that all said about 5 different things, so to avoid my inbox becoming another echo chamber. 1. You're 100% going to have a C-section anyway, so just get a tubal while giving birth. No, I'm not 100% going to have a C-section anyway. Twins are not an automatic C-section. With my birth history, there is no reason to presume that a C-section is in my future. My OB agrees and has discussed the possibility, as doctors have to do, but also said that based on my past 2 birth experiences, I'm a perfect candidate for vaginal delivery. I also am not going to mince words. Tubal ligations are less effective than vasectomies with a much higher likelihood of an ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancy can unalive me. In fact, I got a PM from a woman who is a fellow fertile myrtle who had an ectopic after a tubal. I am rejecting birth control options that, if they fail, would lead to my likely death. I don't want to be pregnant again, but I also don't want to unalive and leave my children motherless. And in no way should anyone assume that traveling to another state to obtain an emergency abortion will continue to be an option in the future. We live in scary times, and Gilead is a real possibility. The comments seem to have the vibe that people think that ligations are magically more effective than vasectomy, and vasectomies are more of a whisper of sterility than an actual sterilization method, so for those in the back, vasectomies is more effective than tubal ligations, full stop. So I really need y'all to shut up about it. 2. Go to another state and obtain an abortion anyway. I appreciate the personal offers to help I received in DMs deeply, but no. I'm in my 2nd trimester, which I know is still legal in some places. However, I am at a point in my pregnancy where I personally, as an individual, do not feel comfortable obtaining an abortion, considering I would be even farther along by the time I could travel, which is not only finances, but logistics as well. I am 16 weeks pregnant now. These babies aren't just clusters of cells to me anymore, and I'm not going to expand on that since it's not up for debate. 3. Why not adoption? With love and respect to everyone who has gone through adoption in all its aspects, adoption is absolutely not for me. This is a thought process I already went through 8 years ago, and now that I'm a mother and not a scared teenager, I know it's even less for me. I personally could not go through with it and come out the other side intact. Going through a full pregnancy, having my babies, and then being separated from them would break me. 4. Leave him and give him full custody of the twins. No, because going through a full pregnancy, having my babies, and then being separated from them would break me. Jesus, some of y'all. 5. Just have a sex-less marriage. No, I love banging my husband, obviously. I don't want to be in a sex-less marriage, and anyone who has been to an abstinence-only high school knows that abstinence is not the way. There were a lot of comments assuming I would be perfectly fine with holding sex from my husband and having a deep bedroom, and I wouldn't. I have a sex drive. I'm going to want to bang my husband. Wanting to have sex with your spouse is normal. 6. What you would do about birth control if you divorced and dated in the future. I'm not thinking of dating anyone else right now, because I'm thinking more about saving my actual marriage instead of an imaginary relationship. And if theoretically I did, I would probably seek out a partner who was snipped or was ready to be honestly, or a woman. I'm bi, so there's a very good chance that my future partner wouldn't have the right parts to knock me up anyway. 7. Jack is sabotaging your birth control. I clarified my methods in the original post as per my last email, but I did want to address this because it came up a lot. I don't have reason to believe that Jack sabotaged my birth control. A number of other fertile myrtles showed up and brought up they or their family members' repeated pregnancies in the face of birth control, including tubals. Accusing my husband of reproductive coercion for no reason other than I keep getting pregnant is a big leap and a weighty accusation. I am not the only fertile myrtle out there, there's a reason there's a whole term for it. Bait. Your husband is a narcissist, abuser, psychopath, and he does no childcare. My husband and I historically have a really healthy and loving relationship outside of this fight. In fact, this fight is the first time we've really had a fight. We've only ever had little arguments that we've been able to talk through. He's an active father. The reason that I do the majority of childcare is due to circumstance between maternity leaves, our job schedules, and the fact that I breastfed my babies. Someone also presumed I'm the breadwinner, which isn't quite true. Jack makes more than me, but we do not have deeply significant differences in our incomes. When he is home, he does his fair share of cleaning and cooking, arguably more than me at times, and parenting. That being said, the things he said in the heat of the moment were deeply concerning, and we're addressing that together. So to get down to the nitty-gritty of the real update since the last time I posted, Jack and I have sat down together and had a real come-to-Jesus talk. I'm not going to go through the whole breakdown, but it basically boiled down to this. It's the vasectomy, but it's more than the vasectomy. It was wrong of me to compare him to Tom, but it was wronger of him to weaponize my trauma against me in a very malicious way. The way he intentionally used the same language my abuser used in an effort to hurt me was not acceptable, and damaged the trust between us. He agreed it was not acceptable and said that in the aftermath he was horrified and ashamed his own words, and that he is an explanation, and not an excuse, kind of snapped under the stress. Oh, and what he said about his next wife was not an indication of him not being committed to me, but was because he felt hurt, and wanted to hurt me back. He has apologized numerous times and seems to feel genuinely bad about it. As for the separation, I am still going forward with it. I need space and time, and I need to take that before the babies come. I am still staying with my parents who, for the record, are not sick of me or the kids. We're a tight-knit family. I only moved out when I moved in with Jack, and my sister moved out about a year ago, so they have been empty nesting, and my mom doesn't like that we live too far an hour away. What I have realized with space and time is how deeply triggering it was, in a way that I cannot explain to those without PTSD from DV. Those who know will know. It's deeply unsettled me, and I'm having a hard time getting over it, so to speak. There is now a lot of fear of my husband that was never there before, and it's going to take a lot to repair that trust and sense of safety. I cannot make a decision while I'm in this space, and I am addressing this with my personal therapist. Overall, I told him that if he wanted to stay married to me, I needed two things from him: marriage counseling and a vasectomy, and even then I still cannot guarantee him anything. He understands, but I do not know what will happen with the vasectomy right now. We focused more on talking about the fight, but he is very aware that it's now a deal breaker, and we have a marriage counseling appointment set up for next week. I'm hoping that counseling will bring some clarity to the situation, and in the meantime, for the next couple months, I'm focusing on giving my kids lots of cuddles and preparing myself for 2 new babies to come into my world, with or without Jack.